Hey guys, my name is Lathan and I'm going to be a first year software engineering student this September, and honestly I love PCs. So if you like this kind of type of content, be sure to subscribe and follow my social medias for any videos I post. Let's get into the PC setup though. So the first thing that catches everyone's eye is the 5 monitors, and everyone asks me, why do you have 5 monitors? Do you actually need them? This is overkill, etc, etc. But let's break it down cost by cost and figure out why I have 5 monitors. So the first 3 I've had for a long time. The first on the left is my Gigabyte 1440p 165Hz monitor, and the one in the middle is my Samsung 1440p 140Hz monitor. Now, I've had these monitors for a while and I've been rearranging them, trying to figure out which position I like best, and it boiled down to this position that we have here. Now, at the bottom, we have my ultra-wide 3440 by 1440p monitor, which is what I use for my main gaming, and it's 100Hz. So honestly, I couldn't be happier with this, to be honest. It's for playing FPSs, MOBA games, and honestly, anything general, to be honest. It's pretty good, and I like it a lot. And then at the top, we can't forget about this monitor. This is just my 1080p 240Hz monitor. And let me explain to you guys why I arranged it the way that I did. So basically, I first wanted to get into streaming, so I had a dual PC setup. We'll get into that later. But after realizing I didn't have the time for streaming, I set it up so that I have my gaming monitor on these bottom 4 monitors, and my streaming PC, or my server PC now, is on the top monitor, so I can monitor if anything pops up, or I can add things onto my Plex. But we'll get into that PC a little bit later. But most of my gaming I do on the bottom monitor, with the occasional triple ultra wide display for some special games, but mostly I have all my games on the bottom monitor, which is 100Hz. And honestly, the resolution is crisp, and I couldn't be much happier with this. Now we're gonna get on to my PC. This is my baby, my water-cooled dream, my i9-9900K with a 3080 and 32 gigs of RAM. Honestly, this PC might be old, but it's doing everything I need it to do. Now, a lot of people will tell you that, oh my gosh, you spent so much on water cooling. This is overkill, and now I'm out of date with my PCs because all of my components are too old and they're not as fast as newer components. But if you're not using all of the power of the PC components, what is the purpose of buying it? Just for frames to lay on the table if you don't have a fast enough monitor, or frames to lay on the table if you don't have enough GPU. You constantly have to be upgrading, and it's honestly a sinkhole for money, and I wouldn't recommend it. Honestly, after you buy a really good PC, you can keep it until it dies, or at least until a game comes up that you can't run. And with this beast here, I can run most of my games with no issues, especially at 100Hz. So I custom water cooled it because this increases the longevity of the parts and basically how long it will last, because you're keeping it under water and it helps regulate the temperatures a lot better than air cooling. For my second PC that you can't really see at the back, this is my server PC. And if you want a full breakdown, you can watch this video in the top right. Yeah, top there. That explains how I built it, why I built it, and what I use it for. But to keep it really short, I use it for my Plex media server and sharing network drives across of all of my PCs and even my tablets to make sure that I have a lot of storage for all of my devices. Now, this does not be a very powerful PC, but it has to keep up with Plex and transcoding, because I transcode for multiple people now. And honestly, this PC as well is as good as it needs to be. It doesn't really need to be upgraded. The only thing that I would change was putting it into a server-based chassis, so it doesn't have to be on my desk taking up space. But I honestly like the look of it, and when people see 2 PCs in one room, they go, wow, this guy must be a streamer, or he must be doing something with the 2 PCs that constantly requires them to be in the same room. But honestly, that's not the case here. Then we have my whole desk setup. So this is just a Soljohn I don't know how to pronounce it, solid run butcher block from IKEA that I screwed into the wall with some L brackets from Home Depot. Now this is the most unconventional setup that you could think of, because who would use a butcher block, not from Home Depot, but from IKEA, for a table when they sell desks and a whole bunch of other stuff from IKEA, especially now with their new Asus gaming line. But let me tell you something, a lot of those desks are made of cheap cardboard. And yeah, this desk may be made out of sawdust, so it's not real wood, but honestly, this desk is sturdier than anything that I can get from IKEA anyways. So yeah, if you're looking for a desk, I would always recommend you guys to look into countertops, because they're a lot thicker and a lot more durable. And especially with my L bracket mount, I get a lot of leg room under my desk, so I can kick anything and it won't knock over my desk or anything. And the only time my desk shakes is like if the whole wall shakes, which doesn't really happen too often. Next up, we have my decor. Now, don't look at me as an art major or anything like that. I just decorate my room with things that I like to do. So I put up some nice floating shelves and these wall panels from Amazon, and the shelves are from IKEA. And honestly, it gives a nice white look. These Amazon wall panels, you can see them in almost everyone's setup, but what makes mine different is I mounted them to a piece of plywood so that it doesn't really damage my walls as much as the plywood would. So I don't have to use any three-sided, double-sided tape or anything crazy. I can just glue them onto the plywood and they're there forever. They haven't given me any trouble whatsoever. And when it needs to come down, I can just unscrew the plywood from the wall and patch the holes with some putty and plaster. So not a problem there. Now, on top of my shelves, I have my new collection of figures and 3D prints. So if you haven't been following me since 2023, I've gotten into some 3D printing. So I print a lot of my figures, and this is where I get to display them with, you know, everyone that comes into my room. So a lot of these are works in progress and a little bit of practice, so they're not the best quality you can get, but this is a learning process, and this is how I can display how I've progressed from my first 3D print to my most current 3D print. And honestly, I think it adds a little bit of personality touch, because this is the things that I printed and I worked on. So yeah, adds a little bit of flair. On the other side, I still have my manga wall, and honestly, I might take that down because I haven't bought any mangas since like the pandemic. So I might just have 2 shelves just of 3D printing stuff, because there's so much stuff that can be 3D printed. At the top, I still have my bat from League of Legends, because that's the game I spent my most hours in, and my Viego statue, which is another proud purchase of mine because I love League of Legends. It's the game I play for most of my hours. That's a lot of my PC setup, but let's go into my workbench area. Starting with my workbench area, I have the Elegoo Neptune 4 Max, which is pretty much the biggest printer that they sell commercially, and it's perfect for cosplayers or anyone that's trying to print something big or big solutions. And yeah, it's an FDM printer. So it took me a while to set it up and learn the little nits and gnats of 3D printing, but I'm starting to sand it down to get a more easier to understand state for myself. So basically, this printer helps me solve problems around the house. I've printed little headphone stands, I've printed helmets. It's pretty universal. And the reason why I got it this big was so that if I wanted to print something bigger, I don't have to print it in too many pieces. And if I want to get into cosplay or anything crazy like that, I already have the real estate of size that I can apply to it later. It's been a pretty good printer, and it hasn't given me much issues that anything that support couldn't have helped me with, because they have one of the best customer services out there. So if you're looking for a 3D printer, Elegoo printers are a really cheap and affordable step into the 3D printing market. Okay, so let's get into my actual workbench area. So in this area, I do my soldering, I do my wiring, I do my projects, and it's a clean space that I can do this on. Now that I'm going into software engineering, I want to take on more wiring projects, IoT projects, and whatever I can find to kind of demonstrate my knowledge and build a portfolio so that when I look for a job, I have a lot more things than just what I did in school. A little bit of a self-directed side of myself. So I have this HP monitor here, which is a 1080p monitor. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. I have my infamous Raspberry Pi, which is the gateway for pretty much any project you can think of. It has a bunch of sensors, it has a bunch of wiring capabilities, pretty much anything you can search up. You can search up a Raspberry Pi version and there probably is a version of it. I do also have a Raspberry Pi kit, which comes with the wires, some sensors, and some ideas that you can use with some projects to get started. But honestly, I've been free-flowing and going off of my own knowledge so far. I also have my trusty soldering iron and a bunch of tools that I use to unscrew and figure out components. And yeah, this is pretty much my workbench area. One more thing I want to add into my workbench area is my archive. So this is a NAS here, and it's pretty old. It's not the fastest speeds, but it holds 2 hard drives, and honestly, I call it my deep vault. This is where I toss stuff that I won't be needing anytime soon. So things like school from years ago, high school, my first college, anything that I'm not going to need on a regular, I toss it into the vault and pray that I never need to use it again, essentially. And as long as I keep it plugged in, I have access to it on all my PCs, and it works great, to be honest. Okay, we're coming up to the last stuff here, so let's get into my girlfriend's gaming setup. So this is my girlfriend's setup. It's pretty quaint, pretty modern, it has 2 monitors. One of them is an ultra-wide, which is always a nice to have. It's not the same resolution as mine, it's a little bit smaller because her computer is not as powerful. Yeah, let's get into the computer actually, let's start with that. So her computer is a Ryzen 7 3700X with a 6600 XT, I believe, and 16 gigs of RAM. So it's nothing too crazy. It's pretty low end or middle, depending on how you look at it. And it's pretty good for powering these 2 monitors, honestly. Games can give some games will give her a little bit of trouble, so she'll have to lower the resolution. But until I get her a new graphics card, this is what it's gonna have to be. And honestly, 1080p gaming is not that bad in 2024, and a lot of people still do it. And I think the Steam hardware surveys would also agree with me there. She has this cheap white keyboard that I don't even know where she got it. I think she got it as a Christmas gift. It's mechanical with brown switches. Nothing too impressive. I also want to upgrade that, but whenever we get time. And she has a Logitech mouse for that. The only thing I do like is that she does have, I gave her a fine mixer for her audio. She does use a Shure MV7 here, and honestly the audio on it can be very good, especially when you pair it with a good mixer. So this fine mixer helps boost the audio and she can be heard very clearly. So that's one thing she does have on me, a good audio gain. Next, going into her setup, I did a similar wall panel because I feel like we're in the same room. We should have a similar style because we're on both sides of the room, and we pretty much have the same wall panels that we have. We both have matching wall panels to show that we're in the same room. The thing that she does have on me is the Govee light bar, and I think it's a really good addition because she can change the colors to what mood she's in. She can change to pink, red, whatever she wants, and it adds some light to her face when she's recording on camera for any meetings or any streams that she does. Wrapping up, we're going into my networking closet. So my networking closet isn't anything too impressive. I have my enclosed rack in my closet. It's pretty much in a cage. I forgot what the term is for it, but it has a 48 port switch, all gigabit ports, as well as my ISP router. Pretty much it's 3 gigabytes down, 1 gigabyte up, which is the best internet you can get in Canada. And yeah, so I got this, my switch, and my 8-port fast Ethernet PoE switch, which provides power to my cameras. These cameras are around my house, and I plan to get more of them as the year goes on. I also took the time to route Ethernet throughout all my bedrooms, so I have a little bit of an organization system to show which rooms have which colors, and yeah, I think that's about it, to be honest. The only thing I would change in my closet here is the actual shelving unit. If you can see, it's pretty weak and it's crumbling under the weight of the networking equipment, so I'll probably have to switch it to either an aluminum or whatever I could think of shelving unit that would support the weight a little bit better. But for now, it's gonna have to keep buckling. Okay, and that's pretty much it inside of my gaming room or my office. Let me know if there's anything that I didn't explain properly or you have any questions about anything, and I'll make a video on it. I plan to make one about my keyboard and desk accessories because I didn't really talk about that too much. So yeah, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Remember to like and subscribe if you like this content, and yeah, see you in the next one.